All right, everybody, Henry here, and I'm really excited about today because I have Jackson Doyle on the line. And Jackson, I've known about Jackson for quite a while and his agency, GreenWatt. They've been operating for a long time. I'm going to let him kind of explain what GreenWatt is and, where they came from, where they're at now, and where they're going. I had the pleasure of working with Jackson on implementation of Pingtree because in their model, and he'll talk about their model before they did transition to layering on, another piece of their model, which is leveraging the Pingtree environment. But Jackson, in particular, has developed an exciting new tool that really works for the traditional agency model as well as now for, it's even more important for the Pingtree model. And I think that it should be widely accepted and used because it really does make life so much easier. I'm just going to frame this really quick. In the Pingtree model, right, the number one thing that you want to have is a closed loop system and understanding if we're acquiring leads from various publishers, affiliates, etc., whoever it is that's pushing in those pings become leads, and then if you're an agency, they're distributed to your buyers. If you're a sales organization, obviously they're distributed to your sales floor, your call center. The need is to have a feedback loop pushed back into the system so that we are no longer guessing and that we can make solid business decisions based on the sources of traffic for which we will have full transparency on. When we have that really well dialed in, then we're in essence able to make business decisions so as to ramp up certain volume from traffic sources and eliminate volume from traffic sources that are not panning out to KPIs that we're after. KPIs, obviously, very important to folks is cost of lead, but ultimately this is about backing into a cost of sale acquisition and understanding, that you have the control in order to be able to make decisions. So I'm going to end right now real quick and introduce Jackson. Jackson, pleasure to have you, man. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. I appreciate this. So,
Absolutely.
going into Greenwatt a little bit, that's the first thing we touched on. So, Greenwatt originally started 5 years ago. We were doing a little bit of marketing, but we kind of got big into the nurturing process. We got picked up by Sunpro, who was then purchased by ADT, and a lot of these large companies for doing call center work, nurturing work. Um, Greenwatt's gone through a bunch of iterations with tech, but about 6 months before the FCC thing came out, we started to dive deeper into the marketing aspect again and doing branded campaigns. We were having a lot of success with that, but with the smaller buyers, it was difficult because with the media buyers and the expensive media buyers for every individual campaign, created creatives, assets, etc. We're taking so much out of their budget for the media buying that the ad spend versus media buying, we are barely hitting CPA. And then with the updates to the ad platforms with targeting, and the whole people who live in versus people who have visited recently, kind of mess up the targeting. So we're getting, because we mostly do home service, very similar to Henry, we're getting a lot of out of areas, which already with smaller budgets was difficult. And then scaling up and getting past that threshold of like 25, 30, $40,000 in spend for the bigger buyers, there's always that kind of hitch there. And that was always a difficult transition. So I, as we were working through this, we were having a lot of issues, and we're going to go into it deeper in this conversation. But I had seen Henry's video on Pingtree. I'd already known about it. And people referred to Henry as basically the person, if you wanted to implement this and have a seamless hitch or seamless without any hitches, that he was the guy. So I reached out to Henry. I bought his mini course. It was very in depth. And then since we were a little bit different than other clients that Henry had, since we already had a big um, client base, I trusted Henry and his process, and they were great on transitioning us over to mostly a ping post. And the reason we did this was we could have these larger owned campaigns. Then instead of having individual branded, we could put our ad spend from our clients through our own funnels, but then distributed directly to our clients. So they weren't getting any ad areas, out of utility, etc. And then Henry's team was great at helping us to find very reputable partners that could also drive traffic to help fulfill those caps and the volume that was needed from our partners. So um, with such a big business move, with so many clients, we thought it was going to be much, much more difficult. But Henry and the Ping Post and Ping Tree and everything else, obviously, it was a learning curve, but they made it much more seamless than before. And now our clients are getting better results because we're able to deliver a better service. We're able to not have so much of a fee on individual media buyers. There's much more scale, and we're able to tap into a lot of other partners who have good volume that can sell through us on top of our O&O stuff that can help to hit the volume goals of our clients while also backing out to CPA.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. Thank you so much for that. I mean, you guys were a little bit of a different animal because you came to us already a really well-established business, right? You had, I think that whenever we first got started and we started to see your, your clients, your buyers, they were some decent sized buyers, and you had quite a few of them. So you had relationships already in hand. What was it like to kind of explain to those relationships, the previous model that you had versus what you were moving into? Was that a seamless process? Did they kind of understand what they were getting into now that you guys were running Pingtree? What was that
Yeah, I
process?
think that, yeah, so I'll kind of break into two. So for the smaller buyers, it was very easy because the smaller buyers, it was basically like, hey, listen, for us to do this custom for you, you have to pay this certain amount just for us to cover cost, because everything is custom, right? Custom, yes, you can have templates, but we have to do custom campaign management. We have to do custom creative, custom funnels. Like everyone wants everything to be very specific to them. And from the agency perspective, outside of what the clients want, is like, especially the smaller clients, they want to be understandably so they don't have as much budget. They want to be like very hands-on. So you're doing a lot of custom selections, you're changing a lot of things. So for them, it wasn't very much of a hard sell because instead of it being, let's say our minimum is 5K, that's most agencies, even as you
Yep.
scale, right, the management goes down, the ad spend increases. But just for like the smaller clients, even if they were spending 10K and our agency fee was 3,500, but they're spending 6,500 in ad spend, it was, hey, listen, you don't have to worry about all that. We can get you up quicker. We're already tapping into sources that we have at scale that we know are working, and we're getting feedback from not only you, but from other clients on what's working and what's not working. So you're getting the benefit of everyone's spend is feeding back into this loop. And additionally, you don't have to worry about this ramp up time. You're not going to have to worry about ad areas. You're not going to have to worry about a lot of the other issues that happen when you're first starting a campaign. And you're basically going to spend more money on leads than you're going to, than before, because instead of having such a big management fee, we're basically taking those meter buyers and putting them on these large campaigns that are producing leads for everyone. So that was the smaller buyers. The bigger buyers, and I'm sure Henry, you can attest to this, a lot of the bigger buyers, even though we do still run some branded campaigns, they understand the benefit of tapping into third-party marketing. Like I'm sure just with your agency, our agency spends more per month on ad spend than some of the largest companies in our industry because we have so many clients. So we have the economies of scale. They know we do it well, and they know that instead of paying as much per lead, they can have more control because it's not like, hey, Google changed something, so your cost per lead is going to go up. It's, a bunch, and then we got to re-optimize, we got to do this, and we got to do that. They could basically just tap into and pause or decrease or increase, especially these big companies and the industries we're in have had a lot of volatility. So they'll be like, hey, this month you need to generate us 500 leads, and the next month it might be 200. Now, when you're running your own campaign, it's hard to fluctuate that type of spend and keep it optimized versus when you're tapping into a source that you could basically, generate as much as you want. And then Henry did a great job with introducing us also to aggregators. So we mostly sell directly to to end buyers, but having those aggregators that if you generate leads that are, let's say, out of area of all your other clients, but you don't want that ad spend to fall to the floor with the ping tree and with Henry's team helping us, now we could sell it to a third party company who has their own buyers. They might bid less and they might pay less, but it's not sunk ad spend. So the end buyer's happier because they don't get as many ad areas and all the other stuff. They're more of their money's going towards ad spend. And it's something that, especially for the bigger buyers, they have such fluctuations in their budgets month after month. It's much easier to set a cap or to just uncap and add trusted publishers to that campaign than it is to try to scale in 1 month between, $100,000 in ad spend to 300,000 and then back to 200,000. So there's a lot less volatility on the agency side and on the company side.
Yeah, amazing. And really what you're articulating is like a lot of the explanation that I've already put together in the classroom section. So if you guys are watching this, go over to the school, check out the classroom, dig into the information there. It's really neat to have Jackson because he's actually gone through it. He's already fully there. You know what I mean? And so now you're
Hmm.
just managing the system. Now you guys are bringing on your own affiliates, your own publishers. You're working with and expanding your buyer network. I think in the first 45 days, if I remember right, you guys did about $30,000 or close to that in revenue, just simply using the environment. You said it well, right? You plug into the environment that already exists that we have kind
Sure.
of like together cultivated and created for you, and then it opens up a world of possibilities. But enough about Pinktree because I really want to talk to the folks about what you guys have done to take it to a whole different level. Because
Sure.
your company, aside from Greenwatt, which is the agency we're talking about right now, operating in this new model, you also have another company called Attribute, right? Is that
Yep. Hmm. Yep. That's right.
and what you've done there is really like you've bettered and more improved the process because what you guys are very technical, so it was a pleasure working with you. You guys, you guys have been in business for a while. You have a technical team. You have developers. You guys, software. And so you saw a an opportunity, I think, to better the environment as a whole, and this is now available to anybody. Number one, just running the basic agency model. You don't even have to be on Pinktree. Number two, if you are on Pinktree, this tool that you guys have put together really does streamline the feedback loop because ultimately, and I go back to always saying that the feedback loop and being really in control of that is really where the money is made. It's really where the retention continues. It's
Sure.
really where we're no longer guessing and we are making factual decisions based on what is actually going on with the traffic. So I'd love for you to take a few minutes and just kind of, and maybe you might even show us a little bit about the platform here in a moment,
Sure.
but take a few minutes to kind of walk us through what you saw relative to the need, what you guys have built out, and how that directly affects number one, just the agency model. Number two, you guys are using it in your Pinktree model now, right, as an agency.
Sure.
But walk us through Attribute. Tell me about it.
Yeah.
You guys developed.
Yeah, so I'll try to keep it pretty streamlined, but I'll kind of go back to the origin. So being an agency, like any agency, we kind of struggled at first. It was just a few of us, me and my brothers run it, and then we got picked up by some of these larger clients. We scaled very quickly. And the original thought for Attribute was we were working with, companies like I'd mentioned, like Sunpro and some of these very large companies that was purchased by ADT. And we never got feedback in a relative time. And then this is just like a funny one-off thing. Obviously, they're not in solar anymore, but is we would it would be this thing where we negotiate these very large contracts, and right when we got close to the negotiation of the contract, it'd be you're doing great, you're doing great, you're doing great. We'd get close, and then the dispo reports would stop. We'd have no idea on CPA. You guys aren't performing as well. We have to renegotiate. So that's where it kind of first started, and then we kind of saw among all of our clients where we would have these issues with attribution in their software. Another company, I won't mention the name, but we were about to lose that we had for like 6 months before we had even started the development of attribute. And it turns out that they had changed something in Salesforce, and half of their opportunities that we were giving them weren't even being tabulated. So they were just seeing the bill. And then once they found that they were missing all those opportunities, and they were very poor at now dispo feedback, this is 3 years ago. Dispo feedback, you can automate weekly, like you can get the CSV. It's not perfect, but before then, it was like someone had to pull this whole report. You couldn't automate it. And we found out that more than half the opportunities we had given them, they weren't even attributing to us. So we had no insight into that. So what we basically tried to build with Attribute is this connection where you're it's called tenants of each other. So an agency can invite a company and or vice versa, and the company can basically integrate their CRM natively and choose how they filter or how they sort your opportunities. So by a source, by a tag, and share that data in real time. So in real time, it's passing from the CRM to show you exactly what's happening with your opportunities um, down the life cycle of the lead. And you can get that feedback visually, and you could also trigger off that feedback. So as we started to build attributes, very helpful to us because we actually had real-time insights into what's going on with our clients. It made it easy to, when there's an issue, diagnose the issue instead of getting a dispo feedback a month later and you basically spent $10,000 of someone's ad spend and it's not working, to see it, on day 3 instead of day 30. So the retention went up a lot. We can intelligently prep for meetings with clients because we actually knew what we were talking about and what the results they were seeing on their end. We could diagnose tech issues as well as other issues. For instance, like I said, with that not being attributed, all of those, we could see on our end, hey, we generated you 100 leads, but you're showing on your system, you're actually only attributing, even though you're getting them into your system. First of all, sometimes they weren't getting them into their system, so you're able to diagnose that faster and not wasting spend. But also, when you're pulling a report, you're not pulling a report on everything that we've generated. You see the spend and you see only partial the opportunities that we've generated. So a lot of those reasons helped us with attrition. And then as we moved to Pingtree, it was even more valuable because, as Henry will go into, and his team was fantastic at helping us, was that you're not only managing your own O&O stuff if you're, coming from an agency space and you want to move it over, which is much easier to manage when it's an aggregate, when it's a bunch of big campaigns than it is small campaigns. It's the benefit of Pinktree and pushing your own traffic through. But as you add these publishers on and they have sub IDs and pub IDs and all these other type of things that you have to track, and also giving them feedback, because that's a huge thing that Henry taught us, is like you have to give the publishers feedback if you're working with anyone, is being able to automate that whole process. That Henry's team did a great job of showing us with this BI tool, Zoho Analytics. It made it so much easier. Like, I don't think that we would have been able to transition as quickly if we didn't have the infrastructure that you guys had. But even when we first started, before we implemented attribute into it, is it was a lot of normalizing data. It was a lot of taking CSVs, which people wouldn't even give to us half the time, because they're lazy. Clients are always lazy, and then trying to put it into the system. Versus with attribute, we're now able to complete the loop. So we're able to basically take the leads that we're sending, we send to the BI tool, and this is in the training that Henry helped to build, but into the BI tool, and also send it to our client, and then have attribute connect basically from the CRM back to the BI tool and be able to update those dispos in real time so we could send that data immediately to our publishers so they can optimize the campaign, which has made our publishers way better, which has very much helped us, as well as we could quickly see um, on the ping post what's working and what's not for a certain client. And that's something that, Henry expressed to us, which was a huge help. Was that some publishers will work really well for some clients, but not, it's not something that you could just set and forget it. It's much easier, I think, and much easier to scale than the traditional agency model. And I'm glad that I got intro to Henry and he was able to help us transition to that. But it's not something you set and forget. So being able to have that data back and see it in an easy way, which Henry helped us with that BI tool setup, is that we're able to basically just look at on a daily basis. This is working, this is not. Let's scale this up. Let's turn this off. And that helped our attrition very much. Like almost every client, once we implemented that full loop, the CPA is way down. Our client retention has been exceptional, the best that we've ever had. Intelligently being able to talk to a lot of times, especially with the bigger buyers because they're managing so many campaigns. I can talk more intelligently about our results that we're getting from top end of the funnel to the bottom end than the actual marketing manager can. And that's because I have those insights into that. We're able to see all of that data from their end and our end and combine it so that we have a whole view of the actual health of the campaign.
Yeah, no, it's amazing, man. With the where you guys have landed. Just a couple of things, like your buyers. I mean, a lot of times, the larger buyers are used to giving a feedback loop, right? In some
Sure,
weird way, shape, or form. They're not standardized. A lot of them,
sure.
as you found that out, right? But they're used to giving a feedback loop. If they're not used to it, then we need to set expectations that it is important, because if that's not happening, then truly we are guessing. We don't want to guess. We want to know. So their
Sure.
responsibility is to send that feedback loop. That responsibility is made easier with what you guys have put together. They're used to doing that. With what you put together, you made a great point. And the publishers, they want to continue to sell you leads, right? They want to
Yeah.
continue to ping you leads. They really starve for efficiencies in the feedback loop so that they can do their job, right? Because
Hmm.
if they don't do their job, if they're not getting what they need, they're not going to continue to be a seller for very long. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So we don't want to lose opportunities with these networks and these affiliates, because a lot of them do push really good traffic, but they need this information in order to police their networks, in order to police what it is that they're doing. So what you guys
Yeah.
have done is you made it so much so that it's very easy to work with these organizations, which I'm sure they absolutely appreciate. You're helping them do their job better, right? And if they do their job better, you are passing off better opportunities to your clients, and you get to retain those clients. So it's really
Exactly.
that environment, right?
Yeah, it's one hand feeds the other, and the other point that I'll make is we try to be really creative. Hermosa came out with that new book. I was trying to recreate some models, and we've had a lot of success with them. But we tried to do, and I think this is partially where stuff will move as becoming an agency becomes more and more competitive, is
Yeah.
we try to do commission-based models, and it was, people had to update things, people don't update, or it was something that it was basically hodgepodging a lot of softwares, and we were able to move that over to Attribute as well with the Zap and actually be able to do creative pricing models. And like I told you, Henry, we're doing something with the ping post that, I'm going to give Henry feedback. It could flop, it could not, but where we're going to take no percentage on the lead from, our own O&O and some publishers and bill basically just whatever the cost of the lead is, do it at cost, and then move it to sale. And we've been able to sell that so easily because who wouldn't want basically the cost of ad spend and not have to pay any type of margin and then be on a rev share. And we're able to automate that through attributes. So I just think that obviously it's our own software. We like it, we use it. But the big problem that we're trying to solve, which I don't know if we've done it perfectly, is just agencies can't optimize. You can't optimize any system if you don't know all of the variables as things move down the line. And I know for you guys, when we first came on, you guys had like Google Sheets, and that's, to be honest, what we did too. Like there wasn't really any better way. And it's something that's very tedious for the client. They don't do it. It takes a lot of time to sort through every individual companies that's your clients' data and actually see what's working. So I think the things that you guys helped us implement with the BI tool, and then having Attribute just be able to automate that, has made the workload for us running our own ping tree probably 75% less.
For sure. It's so labor intensive to do things outside of what you guys have put together. And so that's what's so exciting about this. So let's first off, this is available to anybody that's seeing this, right? You don't necessarily need to be running Pinktree. There is definite advantages to running Pinktree, as Jackson has basically spelled out for us, right? It's ultimate scalability, really, is what it is. But you don't have to be running Pinktree in order to leverage the power of attribute. So let's talk about, and if you don't mind, maybe just, and this is so, this can be a rabbit hole of a deep dive, but I don't want to necessarily get there. If you could just show a little bit about the software, I'm going to again post a multi-video training that you have put together so that my audience can understand really what's behind this. And I know that first off, I know that we're probably talking to the majority of individuals seeing this. A lot of them don't understand the paying tree environment. They're learning it. A lot of them, may not. This might go over the heads of some, but
Sure.
you guys are supportive, right? We're obviously supportive in helping individuals better understand what the opportunity is. If you guys are curious about it, certainly reach out. I'll let you know how to do that upcoming. Jackson, could you show us a little bit about the system as much as you're comfortable getting into now in the interest of time?
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. I'll do a quick walkthrough, and then, obviously, Henry's helped too, and I helped him put together extensive training of completing the feedback loop, getting the data, normalizing data. A lot of, big words that seems intimidating. It's really not. He did a great job giving me feedback on how to put it into a step-by-step process, and his team is great at actually taking things that are complex and making them very piece-sized. Before I get into it, I would just say if I was restarting an agency, or obviously we chose to make this move, even if you just want to do O&O stuff, I would suggest, especially with the new FCC stuff that's coming, if you want to get to scale at an agency, you want to reduce churn, you want to be able to actually deliver results consistently, I would suggest working with Henry's team regardless, but implementing the pink tree. I think from an agency perspective, it's just hard to scale without. And I was hesitant for a long time because I'd heard so many bad things about you're going to get third parties on there and they're going to give, your clients crap and it's hard to manage. And like the introductions that you made have worked out great. And I think that whether you're starting or you are struggling as an agency and you do have clients, I think moving to the pink tree, even if you're just going to push your own volume through it, it makes it a lot easier to scale. It's a lot less management, it's a lot simpler, and it seems very complex um, from what we're talking about as a high level. But if you go through Henry's training, or if you work with him, you'll see that it's really not as complex as it seems.
I
But
appreciate that. Thanks, man.
diving into yeah, no problem. Diving into the software. So basically, like I said, Attribute operates through two different portals. You can basically think of them as the light blue is an agency portal. So this is what you'd see as an agency, and the dark blue is a company portal. I'll start as the agency. So the agency, it's very straightforward. It's very complex in the back end. We try to make it very easy. So as an agency, you could basically invite companies. All you have to do is type in an email address. If they don't already have an account, it will prompt them to create an account. If they do, it will just show up as an invite here. So it'll look like this, and then they can accept it. This one's already been accepted. When a company gets that invite, they're basically prompted to accept the invite. So here it would say accept instead of view, and they are prompted to integrate their CRM. So it's just a one-touch integration directly to their CRM. These are currently the 4 CRMs that we basically integrate with. We're working on Zoho right now. If you guys have any feedback, usually it takes us 2 weeks to create an integration. Your company will see this, they'll integrate. They could also, it's a cool side feature, but if you do direct ads for them, let's say you're more of a traditional agency, you could also have them sync all of their customer lists. So their tags, their sources, their deal stages, all as custom audiences to these two platforms, which also do Instagram and YouTube. And you could use them as lookalike audiences. We do that for some of our branded campaigns, but that's just a side feature. But once they do that, basically they will be prompted to pull that data in. It will show what pipelines they have and what different sorting credentials they have in their CRM. So it pulls directly from their CRM. And then the client will just pick rules on how they sort your leads or your opportunities. So they could do an and, they could do an or. For this one, we just have tag GreenWatt. So I think this is integrated with high level. So once, we push a lead in here, obviously it's a test account, but when we push a lead, they have a rule in there that any lead that comes from our webhook is tag GreenWatt. So now that data is fed back and it's only that data. So especially as you work with bigger buyers, even smaller buyers, I don't know if Henry has the same issues, but people are so scared of sharing their data because there's been so many sketchy actors. So they don't want you to see any type of lead that's not your lead, that you already have that PII. And I think with the FCC thing, that's going to become even bigger. So this will only share the data that they, in this scenario, tag GreenWatt, but it can filter by any type of source, any custom field that's in their CRM, it will pull in that they could then sort by. And if they ever have to edit it, they could always change it. Once they complete this, you will see them as a connected company that you could just view their whatever their rule is, make sure that that's correct, and you accept it. Once you accept it as an agency, you now have all of their data in here. So this pulls in, this is a real-time snapshot. So this literally, if you were looking at their deal stages, and for example, I'm using the example of high level because that's what's integrated here. If you went to their opportunities, their deal stage pipeline, this is for every opportunity that's tagged GreenWatt. This is exactly what you would see. You'd see the count. This shows the average time that something's in a certain stage. So we've been able to, obviously, this is count as a test account, so things aren't moved frequently, but we've been able to see like issues where, let's say for nurturing, people are in lead status way longer. Like we work with a lot of solar clients way longer than normal. And we find out that they're not contacting them as much. So we see from the conversion percentage as well as from the time that something's in a stage that they're just not calling them frequently enough. So we can give that feedback when we sit on our weekly calls or my customer success reps to say, hey, listen, this is a point I'm going to ask about because this is different than every other client that we see. And because of that, they're having worse results. And you're able to, as an agency, which I feel like shouldn't be necessarily on us, but at the end of the day, the results are the results, and you only keep clients if you have results, is we're able to more quickly and easily diagnose issues with this data, like issues in their pipeline versus another company's pipeline.
Sure.
This will show the historical data. So it goes back to the last 90 days. So you can see, how many opportunities you've given them, how many are in one status that they use the one and lost, the conversion percentages of the different statuses. So this is on the total, and this is just a different way to look at the conversion percentages. We are probably, by the time you guys view this training, going to have a comparison view where you can compare two dates. That's in testing right now. It's going to be in development, but where you could actually pick, hey, I've started this campaign in January. It's now March. I want to see January 1st through the 31st versus March 1st through the 31st. How many total leads we've given them, how many appointments they've had, how many sales, and all of the conversion metrics. So you'll be able to see that and compare dates to see, hey, why was something working better in January versus in March? And then the last of the data that you get is you get the whole lead list. So you get to see exactly every single contact that you have. So we've had this a ton of times where we've been able to diagnose why certain opportunities aren't being tracked back to us, or if there's a problem with our integration, they're not getting the leads correctly, or whatever else it is. But you'll be able to see all of the data for every individual contact directly in here, so you can cross-reference and you could also search.
Awesome.
Now, the last thing, and I don't have it pulled up, so I can pull it up quick. I was just going to go into the Zap if you
Okay.
wanted, but
Yep.
I could also just stop there.
Yeah. Let's. I mean, if you don't mind, if you have time, you can just go into the Zap here.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we have developed a Zap that's available through the agency, and like I said in the training, that is free. That's in the group with Henry. I go into a lot of the cool things that you could do with the Zap. But basically, what the Zap allows is, as an agency, the data you're getting back, you could basically trigger off of anything into any type of app. So some example use cases are people are able to now finally feed back as an agency back to the conversion APIs of the platform. Not only if you are an individual agency and you're doing it directly for a branded campaign, or a lot of the ping post companies, or they basically have O&O traffic. that they push directly through Ping Post, and sort through their clients based on, the zip matching or whatever it is. You're able to now see, hey, this sold for this company. And now you're able to take that, push it back through the Zap with a click ID to the actual conversion API of the platform. So you're able to send it back. We have agencies who use this that do reactivation. So they have where if a certain deal stage or pipeline stage, let's say, is follow up for a client, they send it back to their high level. They wouldn't be able to get that data, but they basically have text or an AI bot through a high level that they reactivate those, and they get paid every time they rebook an appointment of someone who was follow up. So now you're able to send that data back from high level in real time, from your client's account, and then you're able to trigger off any automations you want. We also have people who, like I had mentioned before, bill on a commission, or they have some type of retainer plus commission. So they basically will work for a certain amount, and then every time something hits appointment sat or demo or sale, whatever it is, they connect it through Stripe and QuickBooks, which now that's an automated process. Every time something for this specific company hits this status, that you could see all the statuses for that client that are in their CRM, that you're going to bill through Stripe for their client account. So this basically allows you to do a lot of cool things, and we go into depth, which I could touch on a little bit. But the biggest thing that we found as an agency and the biggest change we've had is what Henry showed us with the BI tool, and being able to not only get the data back, like we can see an attribute for the individual client, but be able to aggregate that data and see trends among all of our clients, not only for publishers, but our own O&O stuff, to say, hey, we get down to, for our O&O stuff, the platform, the campaign, down to the ad set and ad ID, and be able to say, hey, listen, within this ad set, yeah, we're generating a lead for $20 in this ad set versus this other ad set that's generating it for $40, but our clients are selling at a 50% higher clip. So it doesn't really matter that we're generating it for less, because that traffic is obviously much worse. Very similar for the publisher side. Hey, I could bid for X publisher, so much less, and maybe they have a better contact rate than publisher B, but publisher B has 4 times as many sales, right? Because at the end of the day, all that really matters is CBA.
That's right, 100%. Man, it's just so exciting. I really appreciate the scratching of the surface here, and I hope that we've done a decent enough job in order to articulate the power of what it is that you put together, and how efficient we can make organizations, just being able to better police what is actually going on, and to have a finger on the pulse of things that matter most. We have, and like we talked about in the classroom section, I will be posting extensive training that Jackson has put together. So if you want to know more about the details and how this is set up, he goes into pretty extensive, training over there, and multi video approach. But if individuals did want to contact you to talk about, okay, what does it take? First off, here's how I operate. How can Attribute help me? What is the process of getting onboarded? I'd love to send them your way, Jackson, if that's okay. Obviously, I know that is. So reach out to
Sure.
me in the group so that I can give you a direct inroads to Jackson, so that you can schedule with him. If you guys want to talk to me, how to get a hold of me. My calendar is out there for the Alpha Ping Tree, and we can talk about Ping Tree. I'm going to go on record and say, every client that I have brought on or bring on here relative to Ping Tree, I am going to send your way, because people don't understand what it is that you've put together, and how efficient it actually makes this environment, and the amount of time and
Mm.
labor and all of the things that that we want to eliminate and streamline as best as possible. Like, your tool is the tool, right? So I'm going to be sending you individuals to speak with and getting them onboarded, because it's only going to better their results, right? Leveraging what it is that
Sure.
we put together into organizations. So I'm on record saying that.
I appreciate that. And I was just gonna say too, like, being an established agency, it wasn't like we were just starting out. Like Greenwatt was a client of the Alpha Ping Tree. I would highly recommend it. Like I said before, if I was going to restart an agency, or obviously we made the move, I invested in it. Uh, I would say that that would be the move to do it through Henry. I think that if we had done it on our own, even though we had a lot of infrastructure set up, and I told Henry this from the beginning, I think we would have hit so many more hurdles and we wouldn't be where we are with the process, even close
Yeah,
today, even 3 months ago. So
yeah.
I would highly recommend it.
I appreciate that. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, it hasn't been very long ago since you guys made this shift, and now you're
Yeah,
just full on into it, and actually taking it to a whole different level. And that's kudos to you for you and your team and identifying, some gaps and putting tools in place to just better your organization. And now we get to collectively put it out there for others and make it available to others. So it's a great partnership, Jackson. I really appreciate everything, and let's talk more in the coming weeks, in the coming months,
sure.
as we just get this thing off the ground and start to really work with these organizations so that they can better what they do, because you're in home services for the most part, right? You're in solar,
Hmm.
you're in this Pinktree in general allows for you to expand into just about any vertical in home services
Sure.
or any vertical in general. You guys kind of focus in on that, but Pinktree, in essence, I mean, I have personal injury, I have insurance, I have Medicare. I mean, there's a lot of the environment itself opens you up to just about any lead vertical that is substantial. And your tool, it's not just home services, right? This is,
Yep.
what you can do
Exactly.
is be industry agnostic, just like Pinktree. And that's what's so exciting, for both
Yeah, and
me and
that's kudos to you as well. Like I'll tell people we were always big solar and roofing, and we dabbled in a couple different verticals, but now that we're solidified in those and we have the process, and Henry gave us the infrastructure and the SOPs and basically walked us through exactly how to do it. Like we have people hitting us up for insurance and other verticals that now we're looking into expanding into because we already have it set up. So it's like once we have your guys' process set up, it's very easy to just move over to other verticals versus if you're a traditional agency, it's much more difficult, right? Because you can't rely on other people who have done it for a long time, other publishers being able to give you quality traffic that you could scale with as you potentially either don't or do build out your own traffic. But once you build it the way you guys have showed us to build it, we could take on a client who they do roofing, but they also want to do siding, right? We don't do siding, but we don't have to build out huge campaigns. We could leverage publishers that we already trust, that you guys have helped intro to us to then push siding volume through. And then just, you know, replay the same infrastructure we already have set up. So it allows for a lot more expansion that we were always afraid of. I was always roofing and solar. And then we work with Henry, and it's like, all right, now that we have that down, obviously with Attribute, it makes the management easier. It's still time and management, any business is, but we can now move into these other verticals much, much easier that I would
yeah,
have never without Pinktree even explored these verticals.
10-4, man. Awesome. Well, perfect, guys. If you guys are watching this and you have questions, let's connect. Happy to intro you to Jackson. Happy to talk with you one on one. Try to figure out what your needs are and where the fits are. Jackson, let's talk again in the coming weeks, man, because I know that this is a
Sure.
constantly evolving thing, and I really appreciate your time, man. You've been a great client, and I'm really excited about your success and scale and all those things.
Awesome. Thanks, man. Well, I appreciate it.
Absolutely. See you
All
guys
right.
later.
Catch you, man. Bye.